Okay, we're going to try this to get you guys a nice lengthier video on this SX55 repair. Never mind my cluttered workspace. This is our donor board, and we're going to try and remove this memory socket here. You can see I've got some goo flux on the top. And what I'm going to do is first I'm going to just heat the flux so it liquefies with the air gun. And then we're going to take some desoldering wick and try and desolder it out of place. So this is the first time I've ever attempted anything like this. So I'm really hoping this goes easily. I know that's never a guarantee, of course, but I've been futzing with this SX55 for a long time now, and I really just want to be done with it. But I refuse to give up on this board because, I never had an IBM growing up, and they were always kind of like, the computer, especially with PC DOS and all of that. So I'm really hoping that I can get this one working so I can fool around with it. Plus, I know it's got a good hard drive in it with what's likely to be original software from whoever originally owned this. So my hope, of course, hinges on the fact that is this going to be something that still even works? If not, it may be what it is, and just a solid experiment in trying to learn how to solder, desolder, and do some of these more advanced repairs. So as I get started here, I'm not going to narrate the whole time because this might take a while. So I'm just going to go through and do my best to desolder these, and I will speed the rest up from here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and try a desolder pump on this as well. Again, not super skilled, so anything you want to drop in comments to tell me how this might be easier. Would love feedback. Okay, let's take a look and just see if we've gotten any progress here on this side. And it looks like it is about as firmly in place as ever. Not as much solder on there. Still quite a bit. I think if maybe I start to do the other side, we might see a little bit of loosening going on. So we'll start there and see if we can get it going. Okay, so I've gone through with a desoldering pump and hit every contact. I will say I see comparatively a little less solder on each pin than the non-desoldered side. So let's give it a shot. Just to squeeze this pressure point here. Now the idea is not to break this piece that we're trying to, of course, take off this board. I'm going to venture a guess that we're still hooked on pretty tight. So my next step is we're going to take the hot air, see if we warm it up a bit, and hopefully if we can get this good molten, then we can have it just drop right off the board with just a little bit of pressure on these plastic pegs. Alright, I have the hot air set to 400 degrees, so my hope is that that is good and warm enough. This should stay molten for a few seconds at least. Alright, so I'm going to try with one hand putting pressure on this side. It's real light. Ooh, that's warm. Just to see if we can get any kind of freedom. I mean, it's cooking the board, so obviously this is not ideal for the good board. You know, being just a donor board, I'm not as concerned, but again, we have to have some process that actually makes it viable to remove, you know, from the good board the existing memory peg. And so far I'm not feeling terribly inspired by what we've got going here. I mean, the good news is, you know, this board was already toast, so yeah, I'm not terribly worried about trying to save it. But if I get the piece off that I need, and or if I were to order a piece to replace that RAM slot, I need to be able to get the old one off the good board without destroying the good board. And if I can't do that, then, you know, we might just be done with this project. But again, I have not given up. I don't want to give up on this board. So I'm hoping that, you know, between the heat gun, the solder wick, the soldering iron, you know, I can at least get this warm enough to wick up this solder without completely deforming this board and or ruining all the traces to the memory circuit. Obviously, if I ruin all the traces, I've utterly defeated the purpose of this whole exercise. So that just isn't going to fly. So hopefully, I'm going to try and just stick down the solder wick so I can heat it up with the gun again. And maybe when it gets molten enough, this will just wick everything into the copper here. Because if that works, that would make this whole job very much easier. Again, comments if you have a way of doing this. I would really, really appreciate hearing it. Obviously, it's not ideal, so pretty quick on this board, so I'm going to throw down a little bit extra flux at this point, just to hopefully avoid damage to the board. Obviously on good board, I'll probably case up with a lot of flux to avoid damage. Again, this is sort of trial and error at this point because this is a bad board, we're saving it. So in my mind, take a risk with this, see if we can get it to work. So we have to wake up, get our good piece off, assuming things go well, and we can use what we're doing here on good board. That's helping me. Okay, so this might be like a keep damaging this board or anything, so we're still soldering there. Just try to apply the contacts here, and hopefully this works up. And we have it this whole time. Whether that will be the case or not, I guess we'll find. Well, we're putting some of it into copper as snail space, which I guess is better than not all. So we'll just keep that here. Okay, so now out of curiosity, I just want to know, is this any more free than it was before? No, not at all. So let's do a quick side-by-side comparison. I mean, I think you could say that we've got noticeably less solder, but let's just give it a quick little IPA wash and just see, again, out of curiosity here, how much less solder does one side have to the other? Now, of course, I've got this paper towel all stuck up in here. That's all right. We got our trusty standby. All right, so comparing the two, now that one's been cleaned, I guess if we're looking down the board, you can see where it started to pull free a little bit compared to the other side where I haven't really been reefing on it, but it really has not moved much at all. And this pressure point in the middle gives me nothing. Now this is cold, but yeah, I'm not really seeing how this is going to come off. Certainly there's a little less solder, but it definitely looks very similar to the way it was. But we'll keep working at it, see if we can get it free. We'll call this part 1.